Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Welcome to the Bonsai Zone. I have special guests here today. I've got Eric and Emma. I met them at the first Tropical Expressions workshop, the Tigerbark Ficus one. So we have decided to start with the big trees first and work our way down to the little ones.
Awesome.
So we're going to start by pruning up this eastern redbud. This is a native tree. In spring the flowers come out before the leaves. They're kind of pinkish purple flowers, I think.
Yep.
I guess violet would that be the color, I think?
They're pretty vibrant, yeah, for sure.
And they look spectacular. They're a wonderful tree. So you can see the leaves. This isn't what the leaves normally look like. These are from wasps that kind of come in. They cut out a slice of the leaf and then they carry it away with them. And I think, I was reading up on them, I think they grow it like a garden in their nest somehow. I think they grow like a fungus that they eat or something like that. It's something strange. Anyway, you can look that up for yourself. So this is what we're going to be working on. It's a twin trunk. So you can see the trunks down here, which is quite thick for an eastern redbud. Usually, you know, they're very whippy. So this is a, you know, fairly mature tree. So it's getting kind of close to midsummer. So we're going to prune it back today, and this is probably as late as you would want to prune it in the year. So it's like the perfect timing. It's kind of grown in spring. It's got lots of energy back into the tree, so it's ready for a pruning and a second flush of growth. And then that second flush of growth will give it enough energy to get it through the winter. Eric and I have the tree on the turntable, and we're just rotating it around, studying the tree, coming up with a plan of action for pruning. Eric said that he's never had a look at the root base, so that's where we're going to start. We're going to uncover the surface roots and see, you know, how far the tree is planted in the soil. So Eric is beginning the process of combing the soil away to see how far the tree is buried in the pot here. So you can see it's quite a beautiful looking tree. Oh, I see a root. Or is it?
I think it's clay.
Oh, it's clay. Okay. It's not a root yet. So I'm going to get a container. I mean, I think we'll have to dig some of this soil out and put it aside. Deep. Yeah, it's quite deeply planted. So we've got a pot here to put the soil in. Eric's just digging around, getting all this soil. How's it looking?
Good. Starting to see a root.
That's cool.
Down pretty far.
So it's not a twin trunk anymore. It's a single trunk with branches, which is even more exciting.
Discovery.
And you said you had no choice of the tree. It was just given to you. So sometimes you get lucky, don't you? It's kind of nice.
It's kind of like a surprise on what we'll find here.
Yeah. We're looking at the branch structure now. So we're trying to get a basic, you know, flowing branch structure that's fanning out. At the moment, it's got a lot of crisscrossing branches. You can see the branches from this trunk are shooting across the other trunk, so those will have to be removed. So I think that's where we'll start, eh, Eric?
Sounds good.
So I'd start with that lowest one. Take it right off flush, and there you go.
The first cut.
Here I go.
Here I go.
And then this one up here too. Also gives you a little more kind of trunk before your first branches.
Yep.
This will look very different once you repot it into a, you know, a training pot or a bonsai pot or something. It'll look quite nice, I think. So, are there any other obvious ones that are kind of crossing?
Not crossing, but those are the same.
We've got, there's double parallel branches here. Hopefully they can see that. Two branches kind of running side by side here. So, when you got that, you always pick your best branch. So, I would say, now in the apex, which is getting up higher in the tree, I always pick the thinnest branch because branches thicken up in the apex and eventually it'll get too thick and you'll have to cut it off and replace it with a new shoot that's thinner. So, but in this case, I think for a trunk leader, you've got to chop here, and then this is quite a nice flowing leader that continues. So in this case, I would take off the thinner one down below, and then because this one has two branches on it, we can develop that canopy eventually with it. Do you agree with that?
I think so.
Yeah. So the bottom one's going to come off.
Okay.
And the sun's come out.
That's awesome.
Nice, that's looking better. And then, so we need to clean up this big stub right here. So the tree was cut back here. We've got a big stub here that's dried up and healed. So now we can prune it off flush. So that's what we'll do next. For cleaning up the big cuts in the apex here, we're going to use the Ironwood tools.
Awesome.
Ratcheting pruners that Tom sent to us. So that's pretty cool.
Right
So,
there.
I would probably come even down like that and line her up. Yeah. Here we go. Big cut coming up.
These are cool.
Isn't that amazing
Yeah.
that you can cut through
So
that
clean.
tough wood and it's so easy? So we'll do the other one at the same time. There's another big stub sticking up there.
Should I go the same angle? Like
Yeah, if you can get the tool in there.
go this direction?
Yeah, I'll hold that branch out of the way, and
Do you think that's good there?
if you can get even closer, we can always
Yeah.
get as close as you can, and then we can always fix it up with the other tool.
What about
It's
there?
a tricky cut. That looks good. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Yeah,
Way better.
nice. Yeah, that's looking good. This will heal over nicely as this branch thickens up. So that's got the apexes cleaned up a little bit. Now, I always like to look above the tree too and look at the branch structure. You can see the branches should come out radial from the trunks. You don't want the branch kicked off at an angle, and this one's kind of like that. You see how it's not coming in line, and even this one, it kind of goes over. So I don't think this upright one's a bad branch, because I think you want something growing up here. So I would just prune it off here, so then it's going to grow out in this direction, and it doesn't look quite so
Yep. That makes sense
cranked
to me.
over. Yeah. Yeah, nice. And then on this branch here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 branches all growing from one spot.
Yep.
So this one can be cleaned up. You can prune off the stub there. And that's probably the branch we're going to keep. It's the one that, to me, flows up the nicest.
Yeah.
This one's too vertical. It runs parallel to the trunk. This one's too horizontal. This one's just right. Most trees, if you look at the branch angle, it's called the emergence angle. There's the trunk, and then there's the angle the branch comes off at. And on most deciduous trees like this, it's sort of horizontal. When the snow comes, the branch breaks. Vertical, it's kind of competes with the trunk, and they can split all the way down the trunk. So the ideal angle is somewhere around 45 degrees for most trees. It's structurally the strongest junction.
sense.
So I would keep this as your branch, and I'd remove all the other three.
I think so too. Yeah.
And again, if you agree with me, you don't.
Let's do it. Based on how quickly it grew back, I'm not too worried.
Yeah.
After the chop.
Yeah. Like everyone would style a tree differently. There's no right or wrong. It's what appeals to you.
Take this little one.
Yeah, and that little one off, yeah. So now you've got a nice branch, and it'll grow
Yeah.
out this direction in future. And so let's go down. This one's not a bad. I kind of like this one. It's a nice branch. Nothing wrong with it. This one's not bad either. I think because it's kind of growing across the other one, I think this would be the new leader, this bud here.
Okay.
So I would prune it off right there, and kind of it'll redirect that branch a bit, so it's going more out this way.
Yep.
This one looks fine, doesn't it? It's maybe these two branches are a little crisscrossy, but I don't think that's a problem. Here we've got ladder branches or parallel branches. You've got one directly above the other, which isn't ideal, because this one's going to shade out the bottom one. So ideally one of them should go, and which one is the question. It's the big question. They're all they're great. There's, you got this one, this one, this one, this one. They're alternating. If it was my tree, I would keep the upper one because then you have more branches in the crown, and lose this one. But is it that bad a flaw? Is it something we should fix, or? I mean, we can kind of prune them off short and develop one out one direction and the other out the other direction, but I don't know. I think usually if something like this is better to correct it now and then work with what you have. So I think my choice would be the bottom one, because then you've still got this branch to kind of fill in your crown up here. If you take the top one off, you got this big space here doing nothing.
Yep. So let's take the bottom one.
I would, yeah. I'd take the bottom one off.
Should I go flush with it?
I would, yeah. Yeah. And then I would trim this top one back so you've got a leaf going to the one direction, opposite direction. So I would just prune in front of those, and you'll get that one branch dividing to two.
Yep.
And we'll be basically doing that with all the long branches. Now here again, we've got, this is your leader up here, and then you've got another branch going directly below it, which again is an ideal. And do we get rid of it? That's the question. The big question. Like this will be a leader, so we'll probably prune it off short and it'll grow up here. Let's leave it on for now.
Okay.
Let's prune it back. You've got two leaves way back here. So I would prune it right here.
To get this one to shoot.
Yeah, and you'll get one coming out this direction. Yeah. And then the top leader, you can see it's just a straight full growth. So we want to prune it back because you want kind of movement and change of direction and taper in your branches here. So I would actually prune it to this leaf for now, and then this bud will develop, and then maybe choose to prune this off in the future.
Okay.
But for now, I'd leave a little more on top, so I'd probably prune it to about there.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So that's kind of got the one tree, the one trunk line finished.
Yeah.
So now we just have a few branches on this one. So this one, you got a leaf coming out here, one here. So we could either prune it up here or here. It's your choice if you want to go a little higher or a little lower.
And then shorter the better for now.
Okay, then right here then.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then the other division, you've got a leaf down low. Not much else. There's probably one here at one time.
Yeah, there's a dead on this
Is there?
side.
Yeah. So you'll probably get a bud coming out here. So I would actually prune it up here for now.
There's two coming out of there for now.
Is there?
So.
Yeah. So it's getting compact.
Yep.
We're getting it down to a stick. Which is always hard to do, isn't it? But
It's the classic.
But once it grows in again, you'll be thinking, oh, it's starting to look more tree-like.
Yep.
And so this one, it's kind of got a strange curve to it here, without any taper. It's like having a straight branch when you have these constant curves. It looks kind of a little funny. It's not the worst in the world. You've got a shoot coming off here, which is really nice, and I would want, ideally I'd want another shoot coming somewhere here.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is just prune back these branches really close here and wait for something to develop in here, and then prune that long piece back a bit eventually.
I should leave a couple leaves up
Yeah,
here.
leave a couple of leaves, and hopefully you'll get some back budding on that branch.
In here maybe?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's it, eh? I
Hey,
think,
it looks great.
yeah, I think it's got a basic structure. It's got a bit of a trunk now, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, if we look at the overall look of it, both trunk lines are about the same height. Ideally you'd want one of them a little higher than the other. So I would say we can do it now if you're feeling brave.
Let's do it.
Okay, so you can see the one is very straight. So generally in nature, the straighter trunks develop faster and thicker, anything going straight up. This one is almost like a side branch. Even though it's thicker at the moment, you want to thicken this one up so it's the thickest trunk, and this is a skinnier one. So usually the skinnier one is also shorter. So if I was to prune this, where would I go? You do have a bud right here, which isn't that much shorter than the other trunk line. You're only taking a little bit off. So I would probably go down lower, and you could even go to this right here.
That's a big cut.
Which is a big cut. Because you don't really have anything else on this side of the tree here.
This one is growing kind of.
Yeah,
cross
nothing's.
anyway.
You want the trunk to kind of, the new shoot to kind of be fanning out a bit. And right now, you know, they're too straight, like fingers. Yeah, I think in the long term, your best shot would be to prune it, and this is the new trunk leader. And then you've got a short one and this one. That also gives room for this upper trunk to develop some branches out this direction. And these ones kind of come out here. It'll fill in really nicely. It's a big cut, but I think you won't regret it in the future. I think it's something that has to be done now. It's like these chops up here. You know, it was probably hard. Did you do those there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard doing those, but then you see the results and you think, oh, that was worth doing.
Yeah.
And the same thing will happen here. This will start thickening up and it'll start blending in, and then you go, yeah, that looks nice with the tall trunk and the shorter one.
There was lots of bud back after the chops. Like none of these existed when I'm sure the bud
It's all
was
new.
there, but this is all new growth.
So if you
Let's
want to
do it.
try that, if you don't have to. If you want to go higher up, like there is a bud here, but it's not a whole lot of difference in height if you go up there, but you can do that too. It's up
I
to
would
you.
rather here, but this isn't a very good branch.
No,
Like, proportionately, I think that looks nicer, but
Yeah,
you're then developing something that isn't ideal anyway. So
yeah.
I like how this little one is.
Yeah, it's a good
I
direction.
think we should do it.
Okay, so on this one, we can prune it quite flush, but we'd have to seal it with some glue or something. Otherwise, it could dry back, and this could dry up. The safe thing to do would be to leave a stub.
Yep.
I cut it a little higher. We'll put the sealant on. It'll kind of naturally die back, and this will take over.
That's a good idea.
I think that's a good idea too. So I would probably just prune it off square,
Okay.
about here. And you never know, you might get some new branches growing there.
Big cut coming
Right
up.
there.
Yeah, big cut
Big
coming up.
cut coming up.
Here I go.
This is awesome.
There you go.
Oh,
I know.
there's a little tree there.
I know. So you can see though the basic trunk structure now. You've got your tall one and your shorter one, and it'll look really nice someday. You won't have those equal length trunks. It'll look
I like
good.
it.
Okay, I think we can stop. We're gonna seal this wound up, and that'll be the end of pruning on this tree for today.
Let's give it a break.
So Eric, no, it's not crazy glue. Eric is just going to seal up that cut with the glue now.
Put more? Or do you think that's
Yeah, a
good?
little bit more. Perfect.
Go.
So that's sealed up, so it should develop this little branch quite nicely. Yeah, that's going to be a nice tree.
Right.
The next tree we're going to be working on with Emma is the Parrot's Beak. And it's been in leaf quite a while. When she first got it, it was kind of not so healthy looking, right?
It was nothing.
Nothing. And so generally I don't like to defoliate trees unless you really have to. In this case, I've been trying to see the branch structure in that, and it's really hard with all these leaves. It's like a massive foliage. So Emma said she's willing to defoliate it.
Let's do
And
it.
I think it's the best to actually, prune the structure of the tree and get it on its way. So Emma is going to defoliate the tree.
All right. Is it better to start in the middle or the top?
It
or
doesn't
just
matter.
Go crazy.
Yeah. It's actually kind of fun because you
This is
kind
gonna
of
take
slowly reveal the branch structure, which
This is going to take a long time.
that's okay. Take your time.
You can do a time-lapse video.
Yeah. All right, many days later, was it? No,
Yeah.
just a little while. So there's all the leaves off. And here's the tree, which has a beautiful little structure to it, doesn't it? It's very ramified and really nice. So let's begin pruning it now.
Yep.
So obviously, you know, we've got to take all the long whips back, but we'll do a little sorting out of the branch structure too. Now, I kind of envision this as like a little broom style tree.
Yeah.
You'll notice that it has all these multi branches coming out from one spot, which generally is a no-no in bonsai if you're growing a taller tree, but if you want something that looks like kind of like a banyan ficus or something, it's quite typical. You know, you can think of this as dividing into 2 branches here and 2 branches here, so then you can develop those. So I think it's fine. I wouldn't, you know, like chop off any of these major branches necessarily, because I don't think you want to develop it up as like a taller trunk or anything.
Tall trunk. No, it's just like, I like the feeling of the openness of this and kind of
sort of like
backwards.
a low flat umbrella canopy.
Yeah.
Is that what you think? Or
Yeah.
I assume that's why you were drawn to this tree.
This is literally like, it was this branching structure that I just really liked, and the way it was kind of open and forward facing. So yeah, something kind of low. And
usually, like, if people pick out a tree like this, they don't want to develop it into a cascade, because generally you pick out the style that you kind of like that style for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good choice. I think it's got a good thing going with this tree, and we just got to keep developing it. So let's start by picking a front for the tree. Somewhere, if you were to pot it into this pot, let's say, where would you want to view it from? So you can turn it around and kind of what looks nice to you.
I still really like kind of coming on as this
in
is
between
the front,
branches.
In between the branches.
Yeah. Now the only disadvantage of that view is that your main tallest trunk here is going away from you.
Yeah.
And generally in bonsai, it's like talking to someone that's leaning back, trying to get away from you. It's a funny, I mean, you shouldn't put human qualities into trees, but they do. I mean, these are like arms, and then the person's
really
going like this.
Looking back.
And it's like, I don't want you near me. Whereas if you go with another view, you don't get that.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
this is this is nice.
Yeah, this view caught my eye right here. Let me just mark it with something. Right there is sort of it looks nice from that view to me.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked at every view yet. This kind of view, you've got a lot of kind of slanting branches. This one is going back. Yeah, I think in this view, you kind of got the one branch coming to your left, and the one to the right balances it.
Yeah,
You've got one
true.
up the middle. It's kind of fanning out nicely. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
You could have a look and see if you like any view better. But
The only other question is like doing it at this angle.
yeah,
But I think I'm more of like a
right.
straight on.
These 2 branches kind of converge here.
Yeah,
They kind of
and then-
come out and then converge, which
Yeah.
generally on a tree isn't the most desirable. So we can prune off this part of it, so we keep this part of the branch just flowing outwards. And then on this one, we can prune off that one up top. So again, everything's fanning out. I think that'll look nice. Do you agree with that? Or?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's
Yep.
what needs to be done. So I'll show the camera that view. I'll get in close actually. So here's a close-up of the tree. So we've got, this branch comes up and then it kind of goes vertical here and actually converges on the other branch. And this one kind of comes over, so you can see how these branches almost touch here. They spread apart and then they converge at the top. So we can correct that. Everything else kind of flows out nicely from the trunk. So I think that's where we should start. So I would get you to come in on this trunk, and we're going to take off this upper part here and keep this branch off to the side.
So kind of here.
Yeah, I would actually go even closer, so maybe
Okay. Yeah.
almost flush, but not quite flush.
Yeah.
If you can get in there. a pretty tricky cut. This is a big cut for this tree coming up, isn't it?
Cut coming up.
And if you feel safer with the another pruners, that's looking good. And they're a little dull, so they don't cut exactly clean. Sorry. Here, I'll get. There's a little piece hanging on there.
There we go.
There. So let's have a look now.
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, from the front. So we're still getting a little converging from this branch. So we need to. I would take off this part and keep this part of the branch coming out the front. Or let me see from the front. You could definitely keep this part. Just prune it here if you want, or you can take it back. Depends how high you want the tree. I would keep this part for now.
Yeah, I think just.
And just take that part off.
Right
Let's get let's use these shears to be a little better, I think. You got to go in a little deeper than the tip. That's it.
There we go.
Yeah. So how does that look? Does it look less like they're converging now?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah.
And I like having that branch coming to the front.
Yeah, I do too. Then on this one, you've got a division here. I would prune it back more compact here, that one. And then on this long one, it fans out quite nicely. I would probably go back somewhere here. Like that. And then on this one, probably in here, do you think? It looks like some buds back there.
There's buds. Yeah, there's a couple of buds there.
And on this one, same thing. I'd go in between these two sets of buds. Okay. And I think this tip here is dead.
Yeah,
you got a bud
dead.
back there, so you could prune that dead part off. It's fun working on these little trees there.
A little bit more too.
It's a really good looking tree, this. Like, really good. Especially looking down at this view.
It's really
flows
cool.
up nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you have these two.
Yeah.
Because that one's underneath.
Yeah. We got to look at the structure now. So eventually on this tall one, you've got a bud developing here and here. As these lengthen and strengthen up, I would take the top off it eventually, because you see how it's just straight with no taper in that?
This one here.
No, I would keep that one, but the top of this.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, develop these two so it
yeah.
branches, because this is a very small tree and you don't want any sections that are long and straight without taper and movement.
Yeah.
So eventually, I wouldn't do it now, but eventually
That
as this
top's gonna
leaf
come
develops, or this branch,
Yeah.
you could shorten it and these will kind of come up and fill in that
Yeah.
area. It's just from this view, it kind of goes straight from where it joins
the way
the
up,
trunk all the way up with no taper and movement. And all the other branches kind of have something going on with them. So here we've got a division of 1 into 3 here.
Yeah.
Ideally 1 to 2, and the one is directly above the other, which is generally not a good thing in bonsai. So if you were to prune one of those, or 2 of those 3 branches away, definitely the bottom branch has the most movement, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It's
it does.
the most
So
interesting.
I'd be more inclined to get rid of those 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And then see what happens. It might look a little funny till it fills in a bit. But
Yeah, it'll have to fill in, but hopefully there's buds coming in here.
I think it
up
will.
this way.
Usually if you give them sunlight, and they're out in the sun, they'll bud. So yeah, take a look at it. If you think that'll...
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We're gonna chop here.
Yeah.
See if I can even get it.
Say big cut coming up.
It's big cut on a small tree.
Yeah. It's as big as it gets on this little tree. You can prune that top one off first if you clear some space. There you go. And then you'll have to... And we can clean it up. If you leave a stub, we can clean it up after. There you go. So I'll just come in with these cutters and I will just clean that point up once I change glasses to my close-up glasses. I'd let you do it, but it's a little tricky because
that one is
these take a little deeper cut than you think sometimes. Something like that's pretty good.
Yep.
And we can even just trim that little edge up there. That's good. Okay, so let's see it from the front. The camera's seeing it from the front. Let's have a look. We'll rotate it around. Definitely looks better, I think.
It's better,
structurally
for
better.
Sure. Yeah.
It looks a little more bare, but that'll fill in. So what will happen in this crown is, you know, you've got everything spreading out and there's nothing up here.
Yeah.
So eventually, off of these, you'll get branches coming up, and it'll slowly fill this crown in. So you don't have to worry about it too much at the moment. It's a bit of a stub in the middle. Let's see what else. Let's see what other. This branch is looking really good now.
Yeah, it's pretty.
I think there's a dead stub there you could prune back, because you've got some buds each side of it. There. I was going to clean this one cut up here. I never did. There we go. I think that's pretty good. Okay. This one looks dead, but it may not be. I think it's got buds at the base, so yeah, we could prune the dead part off and develop those buds then. Because once it fills in, you won't be able to see all this. It'll just be a massive foliage again. So on this branch, you're getting like a pom-pom branch, where the branch comes out and then you've got
a billion.
A billion little shoots coming out. So we've got to select which ones are important. And so you can see here, if you look from above, we've got the first major branch junction. You've got one to the left and one to the right. So we want to stagger them. So we're going to keep one of them. And I would say on this tree, because you have more space here, to keep the back one and get rid of the front one.
Okay.
But I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think you're right, because
and this
I
one's
like
more horizontal.
More...
This one's more vertical.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I would take that one off and keep the one off on that side.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that dead there? That's probably
I think so, yeah.
dead.
Yeah. So you've got that one, and then I think this part you got to cut out too. There's a bit still sticking out in there. You can use these scissors too.
Thankfully, it's pretty
easier to get in there.
Pretty little.
Cut it. There it goes.
There it goes.
These scissors are just from KW Surplus. I think they have one.
They're just like almost like nail scissors.
That's what they are. They're just for trimming nails, or I think they're for removing stitches or something.
Yeah, safety.
Now you've got some growing up vertical on here. I would take those two vertical ones off.
Yep.
And there's a bit of a stub you might be able to prune off there. I don't know. Yeah. Then, so we've got the one off to this side, so we'll keep the one over here, and then I would prune off this one on this side, so we're getting staggered branching. So that one right in there. Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, it's looking better. And I don't think we could take that one off.
Yep.
Or, yeah, we should take it off. I want two branches emerging from the same spot.
And that one's already kind of dead.
Yeah. There. And I think the rest is okay. Like you've got a dead stub there and one there you could prune up and another one here.
Yep.
Other than that, I think, I think that's about it for this tree for now.
Ooh.
Unless you want to repot it, but it's safer in a pot that size, that's for sure. There's no rush to get it in a bonsai pot. But
we could do root pruning another time.
Yeah. So these should be repotted midsummer like this. Yeah. Generally, if you're doing repotting this summer, you let them grow from spring till now, so they get really vigorous. Then you go in and repot them, root prune them, prune the branch structure down, and then you repot it. And because they have so much energy stored up, they just take off and it's like nothing ever happened to the tree. So that, yeah, I think that's looking really good. And I think if you imagine it someday, even that pot's too big for it. But someday, you know, maybe the tree will grow a bit and it'll sort of fit that pot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll look good in a little pot someday. It's a nice little tree. I like it.
It's cool.
It's short and stubby, and it's got lots of branches growing.
It's got cool personality.
It does.
Yeah.
So there we go. That's another tree done.
Woohoo!
Here is a look at Emma's tree, all pruned up. Wow, it's looking really nice. Very cool. Spinning it around. Doing the whole tour. Back to the front. It looks awesome. I like it.